Hey everyone, we're going to talk about Google Classroom today, and that's going to be a great way that you can communicate with your kids and also a nice way to deploy assignments so that they can see them in an online environment. So right now I'm at the landing page of google.com and I can tell that I've logged in. You need to make sure that you're logged in. Otherwise, this isn't going to work real well. So right here, I can hover over my picture and I see that's a picture of me. It's not like an egghead that's like a profile of pretty much nothing. I can also see my address, my email address that pops up. It's jerry.broyles, blah, blah, blah. So that lets me know that I'm logged in and I'm good to go. Alternately, you could have gone to Google Drive and you could have seen if you're logged in here because you know that that Fayette County icon is right there for Fayette County Public Schools. And you can also see that your name and your school address is showing up here when you hover over it. Okay, so let's go back to the landing page. It doesn't really matter which way you go from, but both of those have a waffle. And I'm going to click on that, and they actually call it Google Apps. But we like to call it a waffle because it looks like, well, it looks like breakfast to me, right? Okay, so if you click on that, you have some of the Google apps that you like to use, like Google Drive, there's Google Slides, and so forth. If you scroll on down a little bit, you will see Google Classroom right there. All right, click on it. Yep. So this takes us into My Cards, which may be a little bit different looking for you because you may not have any of these cards showing up. Now, if you attended some of our Google Classroom PDs or some other PDs that use Google products, you may have a card or two in here where you were probably just a student, and that's okay. That's cool. That gave you some practice. But today we're going to show you how to create your own teacher classroom. So over here, there's a plus sign. If you hover over it, it says create or join a class. So we're going to click on it once, and we have the option to create a class. So I'm going to create that right there. Just click on it. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to put a class name. You don't have to put a section or a subject, but you can if you want. So I'm just going to name mine 2019, let's see, 2020. And I'm going to say Mr. Broyles Classroom, okay, something like that. Now I can put the subject down here if I want. Maybe it's 7th grade math. You know, if I want to put the room number, I can do that as well. And then when I'm ready, I can just click create right here. Okay, so go ahead and do that. Now I want to cancel on mine because I already created a class. Okay, so now I have this card and this is my class right here. I'm going to click on it and click it open. Okay, I actually named it Mr. Broyles' NTI Classroom. I can change the title of that later on if I want. I don't know. I may do that. Now, I'm just going to kind of show you around this interface here, okay? So we have some tabs up here. We have Stream, we have Classwork, we have People, we have Grades. Stream is just a nice way that you're going to see all the assignments, all the announcements, and any of the feedback or maybe even classroom comments or questions that students have, and they all show up right here in a nice compact place for you to see what's going on in your classroom. Okay. Over here, there's a class code, and that's going to be really important for your kiddos to join your class. And you can change that. I usually don't because it usually works just fine for me. And so if I go right here and click on display, that makes it a little bit easier. So if my kids were actually in the class, they could see that. But you may have to actually write this down and deploy it some other way, maybe through an email or through some kind of handout that you're going to give to the students. So right down here where it says share something with your class, I'm going to click on that. And that is a perfect way for you to make an announcement with your kiddos. Okay. Right now, you probably just have one classroom or maybe a couple, I don't know. But if I wanted to deploy an announcement or send an announcement to several of my classes, for example, maybe there's a team party on Friday or something, and I want to put that in my stream just so the kids will know to prepare for that. Maybe they're going to dress up or bring some snacks or something, okay? Then I can click on several of these classrooms and let every single class know that. And that makes a lot of sense for like our high school teachers and our middle school teachers because they probably have several periods where they see different groups of kids, and that makes sense that they have more than one classroom. Elementary teachers, maybe they just have one and that works for them, okay? So now I don't want to send that out to every classroom that I have. I just want the one that I have right here in front of me, this class, to receive it. Now, I can also change it to have different students. So if I want that announcement to go to maybe half of my class, that maybe they're working on a project or something, and I want them to know something about the materials are going to be a little bit late arriving today, so maybe they'll get them tomorrow. I just want them to know that up front. I could send it out to just certain kids. So maybe I want these two kids not to be included in this announcement, and I just want this child, to be included. So I would just click on her, okay? But now, that was just an example. In this case, I want to send this announcement to all of my students, okay? So, share with class. I want to type something in here, something like, be sure to be ready for your quiz on Friday. Yep. Now, with that, I can put more text if I want. I can also go down here to the paperclip, and I can click on Add. And what would be nice here is if I had a study guide that they need to look at, or maybe a website, then I could do that as well. I can also come up with a file. And you're used to that paperclip because Microsoft Office, remember they used to have that little dog and a little paperclip? That was awesome. It always talked to you. Remember that? Yeah. Well, this one doesn't talk, but you can use it to actually attach Microsoft files for kids to read. Now, we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a moment. Now, I can also find a YouTube video, and let's do that. So I can click on the YouTube video, and maybe we are studying, let's see, adding fractions with unlike denominators. Okay, and I want to search for that. And let's see, I think this one looks pretty good right here. And then I can go to add right here. Now when my announcement goes out, it actually has a YouTube video there that the kids can look at, and they can actually do a little bit of just going through their head of how these things work, how to change the denominators so you can actually add them at the end and so forth. And if I wanted to add another study guide, maybe it's from a Google Drive or something, I could do that as well. But I just want to keep it as a YouTube video. Now, of course, you need to watch that YouTube video, make sure it's appropriate before you send it out, right? Okay. So now I can go over here to where it says post, and I can post this announcement right now if I want. Or I can click on the drop-down arrow right here, and I can schedule that for later. Okay, so let's click on that and see what that looks like. That means that maybe it needs to go out tomorrow morning first thing. I don't want them to stay up late tonight and to look at it and watch it and worry and all that. I'll just have it go out tomorrow morning. So that would be, let's see, maybe Tuesday the 17th. I don't know. At 8 o'clock sounds good, and I can schedule that. Okay. Now, I can also go back here, and I can save it as a draft. So I can work ahead as a teacher if I want to and put out some of these announcements. I can also do that when I do assignments in just a moment. Okay, I can save it as a draft, and then whenever I'm ready for that assignment or announcement to go out, it can go out. Okay, really cool. So on this one though, you know what? I'm just going to click post. I'm just going to go ahead and knock that out. There we go. So it's posting. Now, that shows up in my stream as a teacher. It also shows up in the student stream as a student. It works out really well. Okay, and they can just click on it right here, and it opens up the video. It's really that simple. Yep. Now, let's go and look at a few other things while we're on the stream page. Okay. Now, I have this theme here, which it works for me because I'm not that picky on themes. I have other things that I am more picky about, but this one not so much. But you can select a different theme if you want. Any of these work fine. You can go in English and history and find something if you want. Go to arts or sports or whatever you're doing, whatever you feel is appropriate for your class and your kiddos, you can change it. Okay. I'm not going to change this one. I'm pretty comfortable with it. Another thing that you can do is you can upload a photo. So if you have a long, skinny photo that would fit into that space, that may work for you. Now, there are other ways to do that. That's a little bit more advanced, and we don't need to worry about that right now. So if you want to know how to do that, though, send me an email. We'll take care of it. All right, let's look over at classwork here, okay? Now, classwork, this is where you will spend a lot of your time as a teacher, okay? This is where you create assignments, and this is where you can actually do some work and deploy things for your kids to work on, okay? Remember, all online. It's all digital. Okay, so right here, this big blue button where it says create, I'm going to click on that. And here are some choices that I have, and we'll go over a few of these today, okay? Assignment, that's the number one thing you'll probably be doing. There's a quiz assignment that you can make. There's questions that you can deploy to your kids, and that usually works pretty well in real time. That's more like an exit ticket or something where the kids are actually in your classroom and you just want some formative feedback to see how they're doing, okay? So we won't really get into that today. Now, material, that is something that we want to talk about. Material for me, that's a great place for you to put like your syllabus, to put class notes. Maybe if you're recording something online, maybe it's a video that you've made. It's a lot of different things. Whatever you feel that kids may need to go back and forth to actually do well in your classroom. These are things that are static. It could be a weekly newsletter that you send out with your kids to your parents. All those things that you feel like, oh, I have to make another copy of that because I have a new student. Those things go right inside material, okay? Now down here, there's reuse a post. You can possibly do that next year, okay? So after you've made all these posts and all these assignments, you can come back and say, you know what? I made an awesome assignment last year. I don't exactly remember what the name of it was, but I remember what class it was. You can go back to this Google Classroom, and then you can find that post and reuse it again, okay? Now, down here is topic. Topic is important. One more time. Topic is important. So let's click on topic, okay? So this is where you're going to organize your classroom. So for our middle school people, for our high school people, you're probably going to organize it by whatever unit you're working on. So maybe it's fractions, maybe it's biology, maybe it's astronomy, maybe it's something to do with creating different contents or something for the kids where they're creating a book talk. You know, whatever it may be that works out for them, social studies, maybe it's American history, you know, part 1 and you have part 2 and part 3. However you decide to create and organize your class, this is going to help you, okay? So I'm going to choose math because, you know, I'm a prior math teacher. So I'll choose something like this, fractions, okay? Fractions, that's going to be one of my topics. I'm going to add that. Now, I'm going to go back. So all my topics are going to show up right here. I'm going to go back to create, and I'm going to make another topic, and I'm going to choose probability. Okay. I'm going to go back again. I'm going to go to create, choose another topic. I'm going to choose geometry. Okay. Now, because this is a demonstration video, I'm going to choose one more because that's going to help me out today in a minute. I'm going to choose another topic, and it's going to be called miscellaneous because that's going to help me get through this video for you guys, okay? So I'm going to click that and hit add. Now, all those topics show up over here, and at any time I want, I can change the topics. I can go over here. I can, you know, rename it, delete it, whatever I want to do. I can move these up and down if I want. So I can move it down, you know, and geometry pops up. You know, maybe miscellaneous should be at the bottom. That would make me feel better. So we'll move that down again, and we'll put miscellaneous down at the bottom again. Poor miscellaneous always ends up at the bottom. Okay, that's all right. So let's go back to create. And again, we have some more things that we're going to create here that are really awesome. I'm going to do a little bit work on the back end, so we're going to come back to this, okay? But in a minute, we're going to create some assignments to help you out, okay? All right, let's look at our next tab. Our next tab is people. Now, this is where all of your students will show up, okay? I only have three students in my classroom, and boy, are they lucky to be in here. That's probably not true. All right, let's look at this. So let's say that I have a student who, for some reason, they got into my class and they clicked on my code and they really shouldn't be in there. They shouldn't have used my classroom code. Really easy to take care of. Or if I have a student that actually leaves my physical classroom, my physical roster, and they're gone out Infinite Campus, I need to take them out of my Google Classroom. It's easy to do. I just click on the square next to them. I go to Actions, and then I can remove them. Okay. Now, when I remove a student, it just removes them from my classroom. Okay. They still have their Google Drive. They still have all the assignments that they have done inside my classroom, inside their Google Drive. So if they're just moving from one middle school in the district to another middle school in the district, they're going to be totally fine. Okay. It's all good. Now, a couple other things I want to show you here. You have given, as a default, in Google Classroom, you have given your kids the rights to actually comment and provide feedback in the stream. Okay. Now, I know that there's some students who probably may not be mature enough to do that, to handle it, or they made a bad choice one day. It just happens. So let's say that this child right here did that. So I can click on them again and go to Actions, and I can mute them. Okay. So that means that they can still do all of the work that I assign them. Yes. But they can't reply to classmates' work, or they can't comment or post. Okay. We'll talk about that just a little bit more in a few minutes. Okay. But it's really easy to do. So I just click on mute. And once I do that, there's this little line right through an audio symbol, which means that this person cannot be communicating inside my Google Classroom. Okay. Now, in a week or so, if they have shown that, hey, they can handle this responsibility and you're ready to go ahead and let them communicate again, click on them again, click Actions, and go to Unmute. Okay, and now they can participate and it's all good to go. And they're going to be really happy about that. Yeah. Okay, so grades we will talk about in a minute, but we don't have any of those right now. Okay, but we'll talk about that. So I'm going to do a couple things here that's a little different here, but it's okay. I'm going to go back to the stream because I like that. I'm going to talk about the gear, and then we're going to go create some assignments. So here's the gear. And I can change the name of my classroom if I want to, and that's totally fine. I can change the subject and so forth. But down here are some other things. If in the stream, we talked about posting and commenting. If we want that to be turned off for all of our kids, we can go right here and say only teachers can post or comment. Okay, and that means that none of the kids can post or comment. So if they're not mature enough to handle it, just leave it right there. It's going to save you a world of trouble. If you want your kids to be able to collaborate, provide feedback, then you'll want to turn that back on. Okay, and we want to do that when we can with kids. Okay, all right, so I'm going to turn it back on. I like it better that way. Now, down here is Guardian Summaries. These are examples of what a Guardian Summary is. And it is just a weekly or bi-weekly letter where the parents can figure out what you're doing and what is going on in your classroom and how their kids are doing, whether they have turned assignments in. It shows missing work if they have not turned in assignments. Now, it's pretty nice. You can click right here for an example. Okay, you can do that. And let's go back to see where that's turned on, okay? And I'll tell you a little bit more about it. Grading down here, we don't really want to touch any of that right now. That's a little bit more advanced, and we'll talk about grading a little bit later too. So I made a few changes here. I'm going to click on Save, and it's all good, okay? Now, let's go back to People. And right up here, when we're talking about Guardian Summaries and a few other things, I want to mention that if you have teachers that collaborate in your classroom, that work with you, maybe it's a special ed teacher, maybe it's another teacher and you co-teach for some reason, and that's totally cool. You can invite those teachers into your classroom. Go right here, and you just start typing in their name, So let's say we want to add maybe Kelly Fisher to ours. Well, we just click on her name, and then we go to invite, and that would invite that teacher to be part of your classroom. Now, when you do that, they have the same amount of control of the classroom as you. So they can work on grading, they can work on developing assignments for the kiddos, they can talk about communication, do some other things, some other work inside the classroom as well. It's all online, but they have the same power as you do in the classroom, which is great. Okay. Now, remember that guardian email? So right here it says invite guardians. So if I knew what this child's parent's name was, and of course I do because it's in Infinite Campus or their guardian or whoever they're living with, then I can click on invite guardians and I can copy and paste that email right here. Okay, and I can do that several times. Maybe we want to send it to the mom, the dad, maybe they stay with their aunt for some reason, maybe they stay with their grandparent, whatever it may be. But any of those people that you want to add here to receive some kind of email on a weekly basis or a bi-weekly basis, you can do it right here. It's really easy to do. Just copy and paste that from Infinite Campus right here, and then you hit invite. Okay, it's that easy. All right, so we're going to hop out of Classroom for a little bit, and I want to take you to Google Drive because we're going to make some assignments, okay? So here in my Google Drive, I have a folder called Math Resources, and I'm going to go into that folder, and I'm just going to show you what we did. We just made a Google slide deck. I'll open that up, and in the Google slide deck, I'll move this down a little bit so you can see it a little bit better. Move the slide bar down for the speaker notes. And so you can see the slide, the first one, it asks them a question, how can inventions solve problems? And they're working on vocabulary today, okay? So that was their essential question. So we'll have some opportunities for them to do some vocabulary, and they can edit these slides when we deploy it through Google Classroom, okay? Now, so let's go back to Google Classroom, and I'm gonna go to classwork, and we're gonna make that into an assignment. So I'm gonna go to create here, and go to assignment, and we're going to title this 001, and that's going to let me know that this was the first lesson of vocabulary slide deck is what I want to call it. The directions over here, I do, yeah, here we go. So I will copy that. I'll just paste that in there. That's going to make things a little bit easier for me. So for this assignment, I'd like you to complete one slide for each of your vocabulary words for this week. Look up the definition and using a dictionary, use the word in a sentence correctly, come up with 2 synonyms, and then find an image or a GIF that would represent the word, okay? Now, I have the directions there. And by the way, I titled this 001, and the next assignment will be 002, because that way it's going to be easier for the kids to refer back to an assignment that maybe they were missing, or you have to tell them which one they need to do because they forgot. Right here, I'm going to go to that slide that I have, that slide deck that we just looked at, and I want to add it here, and it's in my Google Drive. So I'm going to click on Google Drive. Now, it will show up things that I have recently opened, which is great because it shows right up under the recent tab. I could also go here to my drive and actually find it, just file down into the folders and see which one it was. If it was like in a shared drive or something, I could upload it there and so forth. But most of the time, it's going to be right here looking at you. So there it is. I'm clicking on it. I'm going to click Add. So here it is right inside the assignment. Now, this means that each child will get a copy of this Google slide deck. Okay? Now, over here, it's really important that you pay attention to this. So important. It says students can view file. Well, you want to change that. Okay? Go to the drop down and make a copy for each student. Yes, that way everybody has their own copy and they're not working on just one slide deck. You've made a copy for every kid in your class, 25, 30, how many kids you have, you've made that many copies and it's assigned to them, okay? So go to make a copy for each student. Now over here on the right, By the way, we can add more material here if we wanted to. We can add more things. On the right, once again, we'll choose which class we want. I want just this class to have it. I can differentiate my assignment by choosing different students. I'm going to leave it for all kids right now, all my students. I'm going to change this to 20 points. And a due date, I can set a due date if I want. Right now, I'm just going to leave it open where there's not a due date, but you're more than welcome to do that. By the way, if you do choose a due date, it shows up on the Google Calendar that's associated with this classroom. Click that. There, yeah, now we have no due date. Now, I want to choose a topic that this is associated with. It's not any of these, so I'm going to choose miscellaneous. It's not fractions or geometry or probability. It's miscellaneous. I can also do a rubric, but we're not getting into rubrics this time, okay? So over here, I'm going to click on Assign. Where's that going to show up? It's going to show up in the stream. So it's going to show up in the stream, and let's look. It also shows up here in classwork. Okay, so you know where to find that. Now when I go to the stream, it says that I posted a new assignment. There it is, and that's where the kids will go to click on it as well. It'll show up in the stream. Let's look at one more assignment here. Let's go back to classwork. I'm going to create another assignment. All right, I have my assignments over here. They're just typed out to help me remember what they are. This one is a video reflection, and I'm going to copy and paste it. So I'm going to go down here to my instructions and paste it in there. And then it was called video reflection. So I'm going to go 002 video reflection. Now remember, I'm just kind of keeping up with my assignments by labeling them with a number. Now, that had a link to it. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to copy that link. And go right there to copy the link. I can edit it. But I just want to copy the link. I'll show you how this looks, okay? Now, when I want to add a YouTube video, I can go to Add right here. And I can click on YouTube. And then I can paste that link that I know is right here. Or I could have gone back to search, and I could search for a video or something there too. Okay, so I'm going to paste it in there, and it recognizes exactly what that is. I'm going to click on it. Yep, that's the one. That is the one. So I'm going to click Add right here, and now it's added to my assignment. I'm going to go over here. Remember, I can change which classes are going to see this assignment. I can change which students will see it. I'm going to change the value, so I'm going to make this a 15-point assignment. I'm going to give it a due date this time. I'm going to make that due Thursday. And I'm going to go ahead and put that in a category again. I'm going to put that inside miscellaneous, okay? And then I can hit Assign. So where's this going to show up? Remember, 2 places. It's going to show up in your classwork under the topic. And notice there's a due date here. It's also going to show up in the stream. And remember, it floats from the things that you've done in the past are on the bottom to things that are current at the top.